Welcome to chapter 3. This is where it gets exciting. This is where we get to start dancing because that's not really how okay, that is really how I dance actually. Let's just be honest. This is where we're going on and heading out and doing actual shoots. And so it's gonna be really fun and exciting. We're gonna show you a ton of different techniques, and this chapter is focused to primarily off-camera bare bulb flash techniques. Now, what I want to say at this point is that as you're watching these videos, if you have questions about the gear, the technology, those types of things, refer back to chapter 2 as needed. If you have questions on foundation lighting principles, soft light versus hard light, how to diffuse versus create specular light, ambient versus flash balancing, T durations, and all that other kind of stuff, which we're going to of course touch on, but we assume that you already are coming into this course with that basic lighting foundation knowledge. If not, refer back to Lighting 101 because that's where we explained all that in complete detail. So let's talk about what we're doing in chapter 3. We're going to start things off with 8 steps to perfecting each shot and image when using OCF. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, basically, whenever we take the flash off camera, we're now introducing another complexity, right? So in Lighting 101, it was all about shooting with on-camera flash, so that way we can kind of focus just on manipulating light and so forth. But now in addition to manipulating that light, we have to kind of worry about all the technology of getting it off camera. But then also we have to worry about the additional shadows and light and highlights and so forth that are being created from these off-camera light sources. So it creates a little bit more complexity, and to kind of address that in every single scene that we walk through, we're going to give you 8 steps to kind of walk through on your shoots, to think through the process of arriving at that final image. So that's going to be that first video. Next, we have 2 videos on overpowering the sun, part 1 and part 2. Why? Because, well, we threw this as the very first video because the question that I get asked the most when it comes to off-camera flash is how in the heck do you overpower the sun? And usually people don't say that. Usually they say, Pi, my backgrounds are all white and my subjects are all, well, when I expose for them, the background is white, and when I expose for the background, they're dark and so forth. This goes back to overpowering the sun and getting enough light in there, and we're gonna do that starting out just because I think that's what most of you wanna know first. Then we're gonna go to slowing down and watching the details. We're gonna take just a minute to kind of analyze shadows and analyze what makes a scene and how to kind of fine tune and refine your scene. We're gonna go into more power without the power. This is a little trick, compositing trick that we like to use. We're gonna demonstrate how we do that. Adding light to existing light. This is one of my favorite uses of flash, is rather than actually modifying light direction or rather than doing anything and changing anything that's there, all we're doing is we're amplifying light that's already existing, and it creates a really cool effect. We're gonna go into bare bulbing with larger groups, okay? So bare bulbing meaning that we're gonna basically use bare bulb flashes to light an entire group. We're gonna show you how to feather and set those up. It's not an ideal type of technique, but it works when you're in a pinch, and it's absolutely fantastic. Later on, we'll get into our ideal techniques. We're gonna talk about backlighting to create interest, how a simple shot that looks absolutely boring can look amazing by just turning your flash into a backlight. And then we're gonna get crazy with the whip pan. Yeah, I'm just gonna leave it at that. I'm not even gonna give you any teaser on what that's about. We're just gonna leave it right there. And then what's gonna happen is all of you are gonna jump to the last video in this chapter just to see what it is. I know you, because that's what I would do. But it's gonna be cool. So that's it for our introduction to chapter 3. Let's go ahead and move to our first video and jump in.